Hey everybody, welcome back. HSC Podcast 129. Got Big Buck Steve on the mic, and Big Smooth, and Fresh Wes. And we're gonna jump right in it today. So if you're listening, new format, we're gonna go right into NFL recap picks, and then afterwards we'll talk college football, all the other stuff. So if you're looking for picks on our channel, then now's the time to listen. So we're gonna jump right into that. So last week, um, I think I finally had a winning week over you guys. So it's 10-4. Derek's 9-5. Wes is 8-6. Derek still with a big lead in the league right now.
What is the standings?
I think you got about a 7 or 8 game lead.
So I'm at 107 wins, so
Yeah, I think Wes is like about 7 or 8 behind you. Then I'm 1 or 2 behind Wes.
oh dang.
So you got about a 10 game lead on me, I think. So it's time for some swing games.
Time to play conservative. No.
So, but overall, so still a good job. Uh, we'll talk more about that later. Winning percentage, doing pretty well. So, week 11, NFL recap. A couple games out there that, didn't go the way we thought, but really a few pretty good games in the late session last week. I mean, I guess we could start with Chicago, like the worst possible way to lose. Like
Ugh.
Chicago has a great way of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's two times now. Last play of the game.
Yeah, now, go from 5 and potentially 5-2, to where they're at right now. It's not even looking like a playoff team anymore. So that was a tough loss for Chicago. Detroit, you kind of got to talk about Detroit right now. What do you guys think? Like watching Detroit play, looking them against everybody else, how you feeling?
Well, they're my number one bandwagon team. I'm taking the Lions to the Super Bowl. That's where I'm going with.
I mean, they're dominating a lot of games. It's when you watch them play.
Right. Well, on offense, they have everything you need. They got the deep threat. They got the great possession receiver. They have a good tight end. They have Sonic and Knuckles in the backfield.
Yeah.
And Goff is decent. He's playing his best right now. They have a good offensive line. Their
He threw for
offense is
400 yards.
yeah, their offense is no weaknesses whatsoever.
Dude, I bought a hat.
He's
Oh,
got the Detroit hat.
Yep.
Now
I want,
Wes is the number one bandwagoner.
dude, I am. It was like a couple weeks ago when, of course you're looking to the Super Bowl and you're like, come on, Detroit. If KC goes, I just want him to be in like 50-10. Like just completely dominate. The way that they run the football and they're physical running, and they got the two-headed monster. You got Jameson Williams back. I had a good week with him. They're leading the league in points. They're balanced, 22 touchdowns passing, 18 rushing. They can beat you either way now. And their defense is, top 10, is playing good. So,
I mean,
I,
consensus right now, are they the Super Bowl favorite?
what, yeah, but the one team that I would look at that's coming on strong is the Eagles. I mean, Saquon's a beast, and Jalen Hurts, they're running that more of that quarterback counter now. They're running him more. He's got his weapons back, got AJ Brown back, and their defense is top six. I mean, they're playing really good.
What
Uh,
about in the AFC? So let's just assume Detroit goes out of the NFC. What are the AFC teams that you could see competing or, beating them in the Super Bowl?
well, of course, you know, you want to say the Ravens still. I just think they keep screwing up not giving Derrick Henry the ball in certain situations.
Or the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous what he averages when, on a couple carries, and he has like ends up having 50, 60 yards, and you look at his average, it's like, why aren't you giving him the ball more? But again, later in the season, I think they'll make that adjustment, and I think their defense, they'll figure it out to a certain extent about defending the pass. But the Bills are dangerous. You just see when they get Kincaid and get Coleman back at full strength, what they're going to look like. I think Cook is the X factor for the Bills. He had a couple touchdowns. I think you get closer to the playoffs, and in the playoffs, they're going to have to ride Cook, just like the Ravens are going to have to ride Henry. I think you got to run the football against Kansas City. You can't just drop back. They're going to come after you. They're going to, it's just going to be tough just to have a one-dimensional offense against a defense like the Chiefs.
So we know,
and the Lions. If any one of those teams go into the Super Bowl, I would not put them as a favorite against the Lions.
so we know Kansas City's good. You mentioned the Bills, you mentioned the Ravens. You got to pick one. Which of those three you taking?
Right now, I'm taking the Bills.
So Wes
Um,
takes the Bills. What do you think, Derek?
Well, you know my answer.
it's
He's taking the Ravens.
Yeah.
But okay, well, tell us why you're taking the Ravens.
I think I mean, if you think about it, if they would have just learned from their mistakes last year, they would have beaten the Chiefs.
well, they
Uh,
played terrible, and they only lost by 7.
yeah. So with Henry now, maybe like you said, Wes, they haven't, but in the playoffs, maybe they'll actually realize, oh, we need to use him more. Maybe they're just saving him for the playoffs. Who knows?
That's when I was talking to a Ravens fan a couple of weeks ago, and that's exactly what my thinking is. Kind of like Cook too. You don't want to burn him out right now. Maybe the fact is they're kind of monitoring the carries. They want him to be at full strength when he hit the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
The question
Ravens
is,
have Justice Hill, who takes a lot of snaps and can take more.
he can't.
So you don't necessarily. I mean, I guess you want to make sure he's not overly tired, but Justice Hill, maybe up his output another 10-20%, and you're good.
Well, then I'm pretty sure Keaton Mitchell's coming back too.
Right. So it's
So they
not,
will have three running backs.
Yeah, and
but it's not. I mean, that's the thing. You do want to go into the playoffs in good position though, too. So you can't lose too many games, especially like, I mean, that's another big one to talk about this week was Ravens losing to the Steelers.
Yeah.
yeah, and the Steelers defense, pretty much tops in the NFL. Uh, they just shut them down. It's kind of surprising that they are able to get stops the way they did. Um, it's of course, offensively, the Steelers. I just think there's still question marks. I think Warren needs to be more. You just can't have Najee Harris running the football. You need Warren to produce. I still think they need. They can't just rely on Pickens. And Russell Wilson at some point is gonna. He has limitations.
Yeah, he
Get
didn't have a
pressure
very
on
good
him,
game.
get removed. Yeah. So, and their schedule is still brutal. I mean, you want to talk about the best team in NFL history that's 4-7. That's the Bengals. You still don't want to play the Bengals. The Steelers.
Yeah. I
And the
mean,
Ravens. I mean, that's
they have the Browns twice in the next 3 weeks, but yeah, you're right. They got the Bengals in that, but then they hit Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals to finish. So the Steelers' schedule is not easy. The outside of maybe those Browns games.
Well, and then I don't know though about the Bengals. We don't know. They might be.
it might
But it
just
it's
Uh,
still it's still tough playing a team that could potentially throw for 400 yards with,
right.
three or four touchdowns from their receivers. T. Higgins is obviously back. And so, I mean, yeah, maybe the Bengals aren't at full strength, but you never want a team that has that kind of firepower.
No,
Right.
it's
Well,
not gonna happen.
go back to your point though, Wes. Yeah, Derrick Henry had 13 carries for 65 yards. That was it. Lamar threw the ball 33 times.
Yeah. But Pittsburgh's defense is no slouch, so let's start there.
Well, that's the thing is if you're a very good defense, especially against the pass, with your pass rush, what disables a pass rush better than a great running game? Then they know, well, we have to play the run. And if you're only running the ball 13 times, so I mean 33 attempts and
Yeah, those
50.
33 attempts, I mean, if you he didn't look great that game. He made a lot of mistakes.
Well, that's the thing. He 33 passing attempts, 15 rushing attempts. That's not going to cut it. It's like Wes was saying about Detroit. Detroit is balance. And that's what the Ravens need to do. The problem with the Ravens is you have Lamar Jackson. And then you're like, oh, well, we got this great toy that is so good at running the ball and passing. Let's use him. No, to win all these games, you have a running game. Use that.
Well,
I
when you have Derrick Henry as that running back, if you're not, then yeah, you're not playing very smart football.
well, it's the Ravens. I mean, they're near 50% in third down conversion rate on the season. They're third in the NFL, and they're only 35%, 36% on third down. They got stops, but again, that also comes down to gaining 4 or 5 yards on first down, and you do that by Derrick Henry. Then you have all the option at your disposal on second, on second and mid yardage or short yardage. It's like that just shows you that they didn't utilize them in the right way of get running the ball on first down and shortening down in distance.
Yeah, it opens up your playbook on second down, right? When you're second and five versus second and 8 or 9 or 10 if you threw on first down and got an incomplete.
But the opposite of that is if you're like the Bears or the Raiders who run on first down every single time, you got to have variety. So yes, you do have Derrick Henry, but then you do have to throw the ball once in a while too.
Oh yeah,
You
you
can't
have
just
to
run
throw
it with Henry
out.
each time because then that'd
I
be eight
would.
box.
Well, you don't have no, you don't right. You pick. It's like you just pick your spots. But
Yeah.
this shows that there is a deficiency. Obviously, he's not getting enough carries, and you're not converting on third downs.
Do you ever see the stat on the first play of NFL offense games where it's running is like 70%? Most people run the ball the
Yeah.
first play of every football game.
Yep, which is
Well,
dumb.
yeah. Well, that's all Luke Getzey does.
Yeah. Again,
All
not
right. Well, let's jump over to let's get through the recap here. Seattle, San Francisco. Did you guys watch that game?
I watched most of the game. I watched the end when Geno Smith just ran for the touchdown.
Yeah, that was wild.
It was pretty funny.
But the whole game, to me, and I didn't watch it all. Probably, I did watch a good three-quarters of it though. They both teams don't look good. Their offenses don't look fluid, and San Francisco's defense isn't nearly what it used to be.
Well, their defense, I mean,
And then to lose to Seattle that way, for them to come back, game-winning drive, the 49ers are interesting right now. Look, watching them play that game. They don't look cohesive. They don't look like, playing as well as they did in the past. So what's their chances? What do you guys think about? You got to choose yes or no right now. 49ers make the playoffs.
I mean, I think they still make it. I think they're not winning the division. Um, I think the Rams are playing too good, and the Cardinals are just they're kind of sneaky good. I mean, their ceiling, you don't really know um what they're going to do one game to the next, but yeah, 49ers are in a little bit of trouble. But I think they right the ship. Did Brock Purdy get hurt? I look at the injury report.
They're in a three-way tie for eighth place right now.
Yeah. I'd say in the AFC, no, but in the NFC, it seems like teams are kind of dropping off a little bit. Um, I think,
Well, the South is turning in back into the South, perfectly. So you're probably only going to get one team there. But so Wes is going with yes. Derek, what are you going with? 49ers, yes or no, make the playoffs?
I guess it all comes. I don't. If they don't win the division, they're not making the playoffs.
But you got to, that's not yes or no, though.
Well, I can't tell. The problem is you're saying, can the 49ers make the playoffs? Yeah. But I don't know what the Cardinals are going to do.
Right. No, will they? Yes, will they make the playoffs?
No.
No.
How about that? I'll just say no.
Okay.
the problem for them is they have to go to Green Bay. They have to go to Buffalo. They got the Bears at home. They got the Rams at home. Miami. Then they got the Lions at home. And then they got to go to Arizona. I mean, they could sneak. I don't even see how they win the division in some of these games, but they do have the Rams at home. So
Right now, they're 1-3 in division.
yeah. So they're not in any tie-breaking scenario here. They're
All right. Well, so we got a no and a yes on the tiebreaker, huh? I think I'm going to go with yes. I think they're going to come back and grab the wild card. Um, I see them losing to the Lions and the Bills, but I think with just two more losses and then maybe you make a couple of the other games go either way. I guess this is where you find out where the heart is of the team, right? They have the talent, they have the players to win those games.
So if you're saying they make it as a wild card, who are you taking out? The Vikings, Packers, or Commanders?
I think the Packers are going to fall out. The
Well, I
Packers to
guess we'll
me,
find out this week, right?
well, they just look the weakest as far as not just where they're at right now, but where they were, and they're trending down, and you don't want to do that towards the end of the season. So I think the Packers fall out. They have a lot of tough games coming up in conference games. I mean, come on, division games. So you start having to play those top tier teams. So yeah, I'll say they make it over the Packers. Well, and by the way, I guess they're playing.
Yeah. Well, I think the Packers, yeah, only have they have three more division. They're 1-2 in division, so they've already played three games in division. The Niners are 1-3 in division.
well, that's like
So let's finish up recap with Bills and Chiefs. What did you guys think of that game?
Well, it's the regular season, so that's how what happens. Buffalo wins against Kansas City in the regular season. We'll have to see what happens in the playoffs.
well. I think they got Cook was a big factor, kind of kept Kansas City's defense off balance. And I guess at the end of the game, when you got a 4th and 2, Allen drops back, and he didn't hesitate to run. And if he he saw an opening, and I think it was probably designed anyways for like a pass option, and he just took it, and that's the the variable that you really can't account for that can be a thorn in Kansas City's side because Josh Allen he will use his physical ability, his athleticism to get outside the pocket. And if there are guys around, he's not afraid to take some shots, and he can absorb a lot of hits. Um, so I think that was a little bit of a hurdle for the Bills to get over. But again, the playoffs, it seems like they're two different teams. And if you can make Josh Allen throw in those situations, 4th and 2, seems like he's not as successful and he tends to turn the ball over. Like that interception he had on the 3rd down. I mean, that was pretty bad. You know, I was just throwing that pass. It's like he'll make those mistakes, but he overcame that. I think when they get Kincaid needs to be more productive in the offense, since really their number one receivers right now aren't going to really hurt you down the field. Kincaid, I think, needs to be their Travis Kelce here going down the stretch. Knox had a good game.
Yeah, with
You can run a lot of 12 personnel.
Kelsey's 8 yards last game. Talk about showing up for the big game, Travis.
Dude, if he makes the Pro Bowl, dude, is he going to make or whatever they call it?
Of course he will. Pro Bowl's
It's not the Pro Bowl. I can't call that. Like I can't call the Washington the Redskins. What is it the Pro Bowl? Is it the games or whatever?
I think it's the Pro Bowl. I think they're bringing the Pro Bowl back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the Mannings are going to be the coaches.
Are they wearing flags again?
I don't know. But I mean, to bring up the point, you're forgetting Bills do have Amari Cooper now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had a couple nice plays. He seems healthy-ish. So,
well, there's a lot for a receiver going to a competitive team that when you have a good receiver, they play a little better, when they get into that team that has a chance to go further and maybe win a Super Bowl. And Amari Cooper is already a pretty good receiver. And if he can up his game slightly, that makes them a lot more dangerous.
yeah, he's a great route runner.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. It doesn't matter. He's past his prime, but he can get open. And in the playoffs, that's a factor. I mean, he can get open down the field. So they got the weapons at their disposal to make a deep run, get to the Super Bowl. But I still think they don't have a lot of margin for error in that because you're going to have everybody. I'd be interested to see Buffalo and Pittsburgh just to see how they defend Josh and what J.J. Watt does, and how they can collapse one side of the field with J.J. Watt. So
if you had to choose, last question, we'll jump into picks. If you had to choose the Bills or the Chiefs to win the AFC, who would you choose?
I'm going to go with the Bills. Like I said, I think you saw some weaknesses defensively where they could be exposed. And if you expose them defensively, it seems like offensively they're struggling to get chunk plays. And the running game is a little suspect and injuries. And Patrick Mahomes, did I ever read that? I mean, he's got 11 interceptions.
Yeah, I mean, his TD interceptions is not normal.
No, I mean, like watching was that Nick Wright, his tears today. Mahomes is still number one.
I hate Nick Wright.
Dude,
let's just get past that.
Thing about Nick, I call him Dracula, dude. I was like, what's going on, Dracula? Why is he?
All right, Derek, same question.
Dude, it's deja vu. We had this discussion last year, and everyone said, "Oh, the Chiefs are down. They're not looking very good. The Bills are better." But what happened? I'm not going against the Chiefs. Are you kidding me?
So
Not in
you're
the
taking the
playoffs.
Chiefs, huh?
This is exactly what it
Yeah.
was last year.
We can all
Travis
vote,
Kelce
Derek.
sucks.
I don't care. They
I
were
know,
good.
but I'm saying last year it was Travis Kelce can't play anymore. He's done. Patrick Mahomes has no weapons. He can't throw the ball or da 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 da. Then look what happens. Oh, Travis Kelce turns back the clock and it's like he's
Yeah.
3 years ago. And then all of a sudden, oh, Rashee Rice becomes this awesome player in the playoffs.
Well, they got
Well, and they
D.
have D Hop, and Smith Schuster's coming back, and
Pachenko is coming back.
Jaco's coming back,
D
and
Hop.
yeah.
When D Hop played the Buccaneers, that was kind of scary. I was like, why did you have to come here? I mean, he was starting to look like,
Well,
back.
he'll need some time, but
Yeah.
you don't want him in the playoffs against
No,
you is the big thing.
no.
So I'm with Derek on this one. I like the Bills. I'm not 100% believer that they could beat the Steelers or the Texans in the playoffs. Like they haven't proved, or Baltimore, like they haven't proved that. Where Kansas City, unfortunately, can probably beat anybody in the playoffs. So I'm gonna have to go with Kansas City over Buffalo in that question.
Because it's been 3 years that we've been saying the Bills should beat the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Well, maybe we'll be wrong this time,
Hey,
Hopefully.
that happened with the Cow. Remember the Niners couldn't
or
beat
we're
the
right this
Cowboys?
time, I guess.
Cowboys couldn't beat the Niners for like 2 years, and then what happened? The Niners get Deion Sanders from
Well,
the Cowboys.
we'll get
Makes
we'll
it
get into the
beat them.
Cowboys, dude,
Well,
after
then they get Charles Haley too.
Yeah, they
because
have the All-Star team.
there's a lot of Cowboys stuff to talk about. So we'll get into that after. So, but let's jump into Week 12 picks here. Let me pull this up. So NFL Week 12 picks starting Thursday night game, Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Um, yeah, the Cleveland just my Browns dark horse isn't paying off. So Steelers win the game because Cleveland. Well, Jameis is throwing for a lot of yards, which is interesting, but now you're going against the Steelers defense, and that's not good. So I don't know that Jameson has as good a game as he's been having. So Steelers by 10.
Jameis threw for almost 400 yards last week, and they lost by 21.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like gave up.
Yeah. And so remember that vaunted Browns defense? That's gone. So yeah, I'm taking the Steelers here.
Yeah, I'm taking the Steelers too. I mean, Cleveland. They've allowed the most sacks in the NFL, 46. And defensively, they just kind of fell off a cliff. They kind of mailing it in. So yeah, I'm taking the Steelers I'll say by 13.
Yeah, I think it'd probably be on the higher end. 3.5. I'll definitely take them to cover that.
Yeah.
Uh, Derek, Minnesota at Chicago.
I'm going to take the Bears here. Minnesota hasn't been looking that good last few weeks. And Chicago's had, a few of these games that just like the Packer game that they have a little confidence because they can play with each team. So I think this week they pick up the win. Still don't trust the Vikings.
Well, if it wasn't Sam Darnold, I would be in disagreement with you, but I'm not because really this is probably anybody's game. Um, it's all about which team shows up. I think the Bears do have a little more momentum, even though they lost their last game. They played a little bit outside their offense until it mattered, which is why Eberflus needs to go. But the Bears have a little momentum. The Vikings are squeaking by in games, so I thought I might have a swing game on it, but yeah, I'm taking the Bears here too. What do you got, Wes? Vikings at Bears.
Vikings.
All right, I do got a swing game.
It's staggering looking at Caleb's stats and how many times he's been sacked. 41
Yeah.
times. rookie getting sacked 41 times. Doesn't matter how he looked better last week. Of course, the offense, I don't even know who the coordinator is. He seems like the video guy that, quarterback coordinator, whoever he is. But
Bryce
averaging,
Young's offensive coordinator last year.
yeah, well, he's averaging 6.2 yards per pass. The only one worse is Daniel Jones. He's 6.1, and they just benched him for Danny DeVito.
Well,
Um,
that's good because last week against the Packers, when this new offense coordinator took over, he averaged 10 yards per pass and he
yeah,
had 70 yards rushing.
yeah, he ran the ball good. And Rome seemed like he was alive. I mean, they got Rome involved. I just think Minnesota is going to rally and they'll win. It's going to be close. They win by 4.
Yeah, they had Rome at 10 targets, DJ Moore 7, Keenan Allen 8. So they made an emphasis to try and get to their receivers.
It sure, yeah. That last drive against the Packers, I was just really annoyed. I was like, "What are you doing? You better get some more yards. You're
Well,
playing in Soldier Field. You're not playing in a dome."
we talked about this a lot, though. It's not being aggressive enough at the end of the game and settling for the field goal.
Yep. And it seems doesn't work out too well when you
No,
have that sort of.
it hurts a lot of teams. So if you end up after you tried for the touchdown and then you have to kick the field goal, that's fine. But to play for the field goal is the problem. So at least we got one swing game there. The next few games I have imagine we'll move through pretty quick here. So Wes, Detroit at Indianapolis.
Oh, Detroit's going to kill them. Just they're not going to beat them as bad as Jacksonville, which I don't even understand how they don't fire somebody for getting just complete. It seems like they're just trying to run up the score on the Jacksonville. It's like
Oh, they
what?
had their starters in all game.
Yeah, it was just like they roll them.
I think
Um,
they all had money on fantasy or something because they were trying to get extra fantasy points.
yeah. I mean, the Colts are playing better, but they beat the Jets, which that's not, I think Detroit still wins by 21.
I mean, I'm just going to take them by 14 because it's only a 7 point spread. But yeah, I don't see Indy winning this game. I don't, even in Indy. Maybe it's not as bad as Jacksonville, you're right, but it's not going to be close.
Yeah, and they're last in the NFL in time of possession. I mean, they're only average like 22, 23 minutes. I mean, that's just great for Detroit because they're just gonna run the ball. They're gonna get stops. Yeah. I think the Colts could put up 20 something points. I think Detroit will put up 45.
Yeah. What do you got, Derek?
This one right here is a classic trap game, and I'll tell you why. First off, no, I'm not picking the Colts. But look, all of a sudden, I know it was the Jets, but oh, look, you put Anthony Richardson back in and they win a game. Maybe, yeah, ride your t most talented player. You have Jonathan Taylor back. You have Downs. You have Pittman. They'll give a, I think it will be closer than people think because no one will think it will be close.
Well, that's so the key there, and I agree, it could be if Indianapolis does controls the ball and moves the ball, like Wes was saying, they don't have a lot of time possession, so they need to keep Detroit's defense on the field because once their offense comes on the field, they're going to roll over Indianapolis. So yeah, that it is. They could be in the game or score a lot of points if they control the ball. They have to like make first downs. They can't just go three and out. If they
They
start doing
got
a lot of three and outs, it's going to hurt. It's going to go out of control quickly, which is the what Jacksonville ran into. So, but we're all in agreement. Detroit wins the game, easily covers the spread. Let's see. Patriots at Miami. this is probably the hardest of the next ones coming up, but I'm at home. I'm still taking Miami. Patriots still, I don't think are great. They're getting better, but Miami has gotten healthier, and I don't think talent wise the Patriots can keep up with them. So I'll take Miami by a touchdown here, which I got to take the spread is 7. What a horrible spread.
7.5 here.
Man, I'll take Miami to cover.
Yeah, it's Miami. Yeah, I'm gonna take Miami too. I think maybe Tyreek might have a breakout game. Um, and Miami, they got Indy with the same record. Miami's got to keep pace, and for any chance, they got to win out. They can afford to lose a game probably, but yeah, I'm taking the Dolphins.
Yeah, it's the time of their season where they're going to decide if they're going to
Yeah.
take a run at the playoffs or not. So, Derek, what do you got?
Yeah, I got the Dolphins also. But yeah, where it has Tyreek Hill been? So
Yeah.
he's supposed to be one of the best receivers in the NFL, but he
Mhm.
just disappeared.
I know where
There
he's not. He's not on your fantasy team doing well.
No.
and they keep talking about his wrist. Well, that's not his leg. I mean, something's bothering him. They said he'd probably have to have surgery on that wrist, but still,
Yeah, I mean the question is it's not Miami's not the question. Tyreek Hill's not the question. New England's the question because they're so sporadic in when they play well and when they don't. They're really a hard team to read right now because you just don't know what you're going to get at any given moment. They can go from drive to drive and be completely opposite. So consistency wise, you got to stay with Miami here. Let's see Tampa Bay at the Giants. Derek, what do you got?
I got Tampa. The Giants are a complete dumpster fire. It's like a New York dumpster fire for football. My God, what is wrong with these people? So for like the Giants, dude, I get you, the Maras, they're old owners and stuff like that. You get rid of that GM as soon as possible because of what he did to that franchise.
Yeah.
And then you piss off the players because you pull the Derek Carr on them and you're like, we're sitting Daniel Jones and he's going to be third string so he doesn't get hurt because we're going to release him.
Right.
Dexter Lawrence, who's, defensive tackle, came out and was talking about how pissed he was that they were benching Daniel Jones because he was like, we all know that he was the best quarterback we have in this building.
not
So
Dan.
they already know. The players know, oh, we're trying to tank now.
Right. It's not a good place for your team to be, mentally.
Yeah.
What do you got, Wes? Tampa at New York?
Um, I'm taking Tampa. I mean, yeah, they're just they suck. They're not good. Um, I still don't see how you don't re-sign Barkley. I heard his salary in like NFL ranks it's like barely in the top 200. So we can't afford him. You don't want him. How's that looking now? I
I
bet you.
mean, to be fair, Tyrone Tracy's not bad.
Yeah, he's not Barkley though.
Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, but he's also
If you
1/14th of Barkley's pay. And would Barkley make really that much of a difference on that team?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big question because you don't know because Malik Neighbors was a great ad.
well, he's really not. I mean, you don't even know what you get. Like I got him on my dynasty team, and it's like their quarterback play is so sporadic. I mean, neighbor, and he's been banged up, but man, it's like God, it's not giving me any points. Like defensively, yeah, they're just bad, and and it looks like they're not going to be good anytime soon. What about Daybell? Isn't he kind of in trouble here? Even though it's not him.
Well, he's the coach. It's always
He's the
him.
coach. He's gonna
They
catch
should
fire.
just clean house, get rid of coach, get a GM, get rid of
Yeah.
quarterback, start over, get in somebody, and then that way, and like the video I showed you about the Bears, it's like that's what you need to do. You need to just clean house if you're going to start over with a new quarterback.
Yeah, they really need a good quarterback now. Like you can't wait because you take the chance at ruining a Malik Neighbors who could is going to be probably a great receiver in the league.
Well, if I am the Giants, I take Travis Hunter and suck again. And then who do they get? The prodigal nephew comes in,
Arch Manning comes
Arch
in.
Manning.
Yeah. I
That's it.
mean,
Out.
it's not a terrible idea.
Yeah, eventually. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, and Travis Hunter, at least you get a really good DB regardless. But that doesn't help, if your team's horrible. So Giants have an interesting road ahead. We'll talk more about that. Dallas at Washington, Wes.
oh, that's I got that confused. Um, well, of course I'm taking Washington. Um, I mean Dallas. I don't even know what to say about Dallas. They I think they should just end their season now. You
Just
know,
forfeit the rest of the games.
yeah, just like you know what, we're done. It's I didn't I knew they were going to make the playoffs. I didn't think they'd be this bad, but yeah. Washington shouldn't have too much trouble. And they're not playing that great right now, but I think they'll rebound. They'll win by like 15.
Yeah, I agree. I got Washington by 10. Um, well, geez, spread's 10.5, so we'll get taken by 11 then. Uh, they'll cover because Dallas is bad. I mean, they looked really bad last week, and they don't look like they can get any better because the morale of the players just keeps going down and down and down. So ultimately, Dallas may not win another game, and they're not going to win this one against Washington. So what do you got there?
First off, screw you, Dallas. What were you doing at the very end of that game? You knew Joe Mixon was going to get the ball. You can't stop him. And then you get stupid flag calls. So you get them down on the 1 yard line. You can go kiss my, I won't say it, but here's the deal. The three, and I'm not talking money earnings, but the three worst owners in the NFL are Woody Johnson, David Tepper, and Jerry Jones. And what
Probably
do
pretty
all
accurate.
three have in common? They meddle. The meddlers. I mean, come on, dude. Jerry Jones, you spent 10 million in free agency. What did you think is going to happen? What did you think? We're going to bring back Ezekiel Elliott, who wasn't anything but the Patriots. What were you thinking, Jerry Jones? Probably not. You're
Oh,
out there in
he's
your ivory
good.
tower mansion counting all your money, but your team sucks. And they've sucked since you got rid of Jimmy Johnson. Because of why? You have a big old ego and you think it's all about you. But you destroyed the Cowboys. You destroyed America's team with your ego. And I'm happy for it because I can't stand the Cowboys. So thank you,
Yeah.
Jared Jones. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep making stupid mistakes. I love it. Commanders by 21.
21, that's a big one.
Not
Bill,
really. If you watch the game, there's
Yeah.
easy they're going to do that.
oh,
They're not even putting in Trey Lance.
No, we're going Cooper Rush.
What are you
That's
trying to
it's pretty
save Trey Lance for?
it's pretty interesting how that game played out for our fantasy last night. We'll table that. We'll get back to
Ugh.
that afterwards. Um,
Everything went
so
bad for me.
we're all watched in there. Kansas City at Carolina. Uh, I got Carolina. I mean Kansas City, obviously. 10.5. Yeah, they'll cover. because Carolina hasn't proved anything to me yet. Their running game is improved when they're going to hand the ball off, 100 times, but that's not going to do well against Kansas City. You're going to have to throw the ball, and that's where they'll get in trouble. So, Kansas City easily in this game.
Let's see. I got Kansas City is favored by 11. They'll probably cover though, but I don't know. Maybe not cover because it just doesn't seem like they're in sync yet. But it is the Panthers, so I am taking the Chiefs.
Yeah. Panthers, worst defense in the NFL, number 32. Um, through 10
Except when
games,
they play the Raiders.
through 10 games, they're averaging uh teams are scoring at almost 70% inside the red zone against them.
Do you imagine what that would be like if they took the Raider game out? It'd be like
Yeah.
90%.
It would be, yeah. So this is just their Kansas City is going to dominate this game. So I got them by 20.
Yeah, their receiver with the most yards doesn't even play for them anymore. So that's trouble. And the most yards of their receiver who doesn't play for them anymore in week 12 is 357.
Was that Deontay Johnson?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jones.
Who
So let's put that
the
together.
and remember, what did the Chiefs gave up like a fourth for DeAndre Hopkins, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the Cowboys gave up a fourth for Jonathan Mingo, who was the fourth string receiver on the Panthers.
Yeah.
You're an idiot, Jerry Jones.
It's the Cowboys again. All right. So we're all in agreement there. Tennessee at Houston. Derek, what do you got?
I'm going to take Houston with Mixon breaking his leg in the second half. No, yeah, I got the Texans. Titans have no chance. Texans are getting, Nico Collins is back, but it's all about Mixon. So I'm taking the Texans.
Wes.
Oh yeah, taking the Texans as a points, even though that yardage wise, the Titans, their defense is top five in the NFL. I mean, their defense has been playing all right. Yeah, they're playing. Houston's playing at home. They should cover.
Yeah, it's not Tennessee's defense that's the problem.
They're
It's
off.
their offense that's the problem.
Talk
They
about
might
cleaning house.
give up less points if they just play defense the whole game.
The only thing that their quarterbacks can be famous for is doing a mayonnaise commercial. And it's so stupid.
It's a pretty horrible commercial as well. So we're all in agreement there. Uh, Denver at the Raiders. Wes, what do you got?
Oh God. Oh jeez. Well, I was talking about um, you know, yards per play, per pass. Gardner Minshew is right there, 6.8. Yeah, they're just I guess the Bengal or who they play last, um well, of course I'm taking the Broncos here. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout. I think they keep it close. I think the Broncos by 5.
Yeah, that's right on the spread. 5.5. I think the Broncos win and cover. Uh, just because the Raiders, they don't just they're Brock Bowers looks great. I mean, I love seeing that, but they don't look as good. Denver is on the way up, unfortunately, at this point. So they're going to cover at the Broncos.
Yeah, this will be the one and only year of Antonio Pierce. The Raiders are 29th in points allowed per game. They're 30th in total yards on offense, 32nd in rush yards, 32nd in turnover differential. Yeah, I think they're done for the season. And I think the players are done with Antonio Pierce already because what I've read is he's not very organized and everything. It's just, yeah. So sadly, got the Broncos to cover.
Tough. Here's where the games get kind of good for the week, though. I feel like a lot of the games so far have been pretty easy picks. But starting with this San Francisco at Green Bay game, it's in Green Bay. Green Bay obviously has the better record, but this is like for San Francisco, this is their season, I think. I really think this is their season because you're also talking about the team that you have to potentially beat out of the wild card spot. And so for them, I think this is a game of the year kind of for both of them. So 49ers can't get up and play for this game, then yeah, they might as well turn it in too. So I'm going to roll with the 49ers on this one. And since Green Bay's the favorite, you don't need any points. What do you
Yeah,
got, Derek?
Yeah, I'm taking the Niners here because, like we said early, I think we said at the beginning of the year, Jordan Love is going to have not a very because he had that rise, but he's not that good. And so I'm taking the Niners. If the Niners don't win this one, then I don't know about the Niners. So
Giving up on them?
yeah.
What do you got, Wes?
yeah, I'm taking the Niners too. I got to win this game, and I think they figure out a way to do it. Yeah, Jordan Love, he just seems like you put him in situations. He kind of tries to do too much, throws off his back foot, seems like quite often, gets himself in trouble. 49ers expose him, I think. So,
I do think he thinks his arm is stronger than it is.
yeah, it's like Jay Cutler.
Throw it over a mountain.
Well, Jay Cutler legitimately had a strong arm. I think Jordan Love just thinks his arm is stronger than it is. Jay Cutler just made bad decisions. I think, yeah, I agree. We might see, I mean, leave it to the Packers to prove me wrong, but I think we might see a little bit of a slide here at the end of the season for them. Arizona, Seattle. Here's another one. Uh, Derek, what do you got?
I'm rolling with my cards. Got Kyler Murray back for my fantasy football team, so I don't have to worry about CJ Stroud anymore. But yeah, I think the Cardinals have been playing really well, and the Seahawks have not been playing that great at home. So I got the Cardinals.
Wes, you agree with that? What do you got?
Yeah, I got Cardinals too. I just think Cardinals are playing better offensively. Seattle, even though they won, I think they're struggling to get the ball to their playmakers. Walker, not really getting him off too much. I think Arizona does enough to win.
Yeah, this is a tough one because Arizona's playing well, right? They're leading the division. They're 6-4, much better than they looked at the beginning of the year. Seattle's coming off a big win, in San Francisco. What's interesting is which I thought they should have done sooner. They're kind of moving away from Tyler Lockett into, Jackson Smith and Jigba, which I think should happen sooner because he's a really good receiver. I think Seattle has a chance here. You really could kind of coin flip this game. I still have to take the Cards because they're playing more consistent, but for me, this could go either way. But I'm taking the Cards.
It won't be a surprise whoever wins.
What I will tell you though, if you're going to watch a game this weekend, I bet this is going to be a fun game to watch.
Be a fun game to go to.
Oh, and yeah, it's at Seattle too. But yeah, maybe we should figure that out. We'll talk about that later. Um, so we're all in Arizona there. Philly at Los Angeles at the Rams. Wes, what do you got?
I'm going with the Rams here. Um, Stafford is playing elite football, 4 touchdowns last week. And I just think Philly's just going to take a loss here. And I don't think it really changes the trajectory for them. I just think it's going to be a tough football game. Rams will find a way to win it. They'll make a couple stops when they have to. I'm taking the Rams by 4.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I would have another swing game here, but I'm taking the Rams as well. This is for me, it's the Rams have a good offense. Their defense is, suspect at best. You have to take Saquon out of the game, which I think the Rams game plan will be. So now it's just going to be a shootout between, Jalen Hurts and Matthew Stafford. The way Cup and Nakua are looking right now, I think the Rams can win that shootout, even though, Devonta Smith and AJ Brown are still great. Cup looks like he's coming back, getting better every week, and that's dangerous because Nakua obviously is already solid. So
Yeah, I don't think
you
anybody.
got to take Barkley out of the game, though, right?
Yeah, I think they're going to that's their main focus, and then it will be a shootout. I don't think anybody really loses. I just think the Rams
This for me,
edge them.
this tests Sean McVay as a coach.
Yeah,
You got to go into this week with that mentality. If he doesn't come in and say, "I'm going to make Jalen Hurts win the game," then you're doing it wrong because Saquon will just maul you all game. So I'm actually in agreement there. I'm gonna take the Rams. What do you got, Derek?
I'm not like Wes here. I'm not that high on the Rams. I think Stafford is kind of almost done. Um, so yeah, I'm taking the Eagles here. They're fifth in the league in total yards, sixth in points allowed, so they don't give up very many points. Uh, they're number one in yard. Their defense is number one in yards allowed. So it's not about, a shootout because they have the number one defense. Plus they have the number one rushing offense in the NFL. So those two things I think will negate the Rams because it won't be that big of a shootout because it will be the Eagles running the ball a ton.
Right, which that's what I'm saying. Why Sean McVay, you have to put 8 in the box and say we're not going to let you run.
yeah.
Then AJ Brown and Devontae Smith will go off.
Yeah, I mean that's what you got then, right? You got AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Hurts against Matthew Stafford, Puka Nakua, and Cooper Cup.
Right. And the number one defense in the NFL.
Yeah, and it's also Eagles. They got to protect Stafford because they're going to.
Oh, Eagles are going to come after him
They're
for
going to
sure. Yeah. I mean, the Rams game plan has to be really good for this game because the Eagles are playing better. I mean, the Eagles haven't had the toughest schedule in the world, but it doesn't matter. They're still playing well. So again, it's one of those things where like if the Rams lose this game, I think their playoff percentage goes down so significantly that you almost look at you're not going to make it.
Yeah,
Eagles can afford to lose. The Rams cannot. Doesn't mean the Rams win, but
you got too many games left to have take 6 losses. And your the percentage goes down quite a bit.
well, we got a swing game at least. Either Derek's going to gain more ground or we'll catch up a little bit. Last game of the week here. Monday Night Football, and it should be another pretty good one. Baltimore at the Chargers. I mean, the surprising Chargers. Wes, what do you got?
Rolling with the Ravens. So they kind of have to keep pace with the Steelers here. Um, and because of just not because they can't do it, they'll do damage and be in a wild card, but it's the optics. You know, you lost, you didn't look well last week, you didn't score a lot of points this week. I think they open it up, and then I think they get back to Derrick Henry later in the game. I think the Herbert's playing good defensively. The Chargers are, one of the best, teams when it comes to um, kind of containing offenses. I just think Lamar is going to go off in this game. He's going to run the ball. He's going to make chunk plays with his feet, and then getting the ball down the field. I think it's close, but I think the Ravens win by 7.
Yeah, this is a really tough one because you don't expect the Chargers to be at 7-3, but you also don't expect them to be, giving up the least amount of points in the league, per game. So it makes you wonder, what difference they made on defense and what difference Harbaugh has made. Justin Herbert still has those little times, but not as many moments as he's had in his previous years of missing third down throws. Like last game was a good example of him actually completing those throws that he's been missing for the last few years. But I still can't see the Ravens losing two in a row and going another game back on Pittsburgh. If I'm John Harbaugh in this case, I'm saying, look, guys, we have to win this game. I get it; it's a good team, but we have to do more, and that brings up the Henrys, and that brings out the Lamar Jacksons and the Kyle Hamiltons on defense. So Roquans, so that's I can't see Baltimore lose. I think it'll be a great game though. It's actually a Monday night game. I'm looking forward to watching.
Yeah, I agree. The Harbaugh Bowl. Weird thing, I know I'm going with the Ravens, but the weird thing is, and this is kind of crazy. So the Sunday night game is at SoFi, and the Monday night game is at SoFi.
There. I just noticed that, yeah.
Getting your money's worth right there.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I know it's turf and everything, but is there going to be any wear and tear? There's not going to be like a whole week to redo anything.
I
Well,
think it's much better in grass. I think you're all right,
yeah, it's true.
but I mean, we'll see. So we're all there, same agreement. So that's our picks there. So a couple swing games. Not a lot though. I thought this week was really pretty top heavy as far as favorites winning when you went down the list.
Which means we're going to have a bad week.
I mean, it might. But it's worked out for Holly all year just picking the favorites because she's beating all of us. So apparently, if you just pick the favorites, but you don't have to pick the points, that's the way to go. All right, so we'll wrap that part up there, and then we'll jump into college football and some other topics here. So, all right, back in. So, you guys are just talking Raiders, number one pick. So let's say Raiders have number one pick. What quarterback do you take?
Cam Ward.
Was there any question?
No.
Oh,
The only thing that, well, if it's what I want, it's Cam Ward. If the Raiders, who knows, it might be Sanders because there has like been rumblings that Brady and Sanders and all that stuff. So
yeah.
Dion takes over as coach.
no, I'm hearing, and this is actually, I would be super happy. Rabel.
Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of talk about Dion to Dallas too.
Yeah, but if I'm Dion, why would I want to go to Dallas? Because I mean, No, why would any coach want to go to Dallas?
Yeah, like
It's just,
Belichick.
it's like you look at, like I said, you look at Dallas, you look at the Jets, and you look at the Panthers. Why would any good coach want to go there? Did you hear like Woody Johnson basically like took over Joe Douglas's job and was like, "No, we got to do that." That's why it's a dumpster fire now.
Right.
Yeah, it's such a Jerry Jones created this created all this product that yes, it's a revenue generating giant, but that giant is going to lead to their demise because there's just too much pressure on everybody. Look at Dak. Dak's done. Dak's done mentally just because he can't handle it. So now you got a quarterback you just paid. What are you going to do about that? You're going to move him? Where are you going to move him? You know, and then you're going to put all that pressure on Dion. I don't think Belichick really wants anything to do with it. I don't think you're going to get some retread as a coach
Well,
because no.
let's say they bring in a new coach and they draft Genty as a running back. Like, what does Dallas look like next year with that?
Not good still.
I think they still have to retool their offensive line. Here's the thing about Genty. You don't know. This guy could be the best running back we've seen in years. He has that ability. How does that translate? I think it translates. He's going to be phenomenal in the NFL. I don't think we've seen the best of him, you know? And so that wouldn't be a bad option. The only problem is you're bringing Dak back.
I
You have to
don't think
bring
you have
all
much
that back.
choice. I think you got to ride Dak for a couple years, regardless, right?
Mm. Yeah, you have to. You just paid him. There's no way that
Right.
dead cap is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what I
I
mean.
just
It's like,
think
so Dak's got to be your guy.
the problem with Genty is that's a luxury pick, and Cowboys need so much. That's not what they need. Like Wes said, they'll probably go offensive lineman or something like that. Um, because he could be the greatest player in the world, but if he's tackled in the backfield every play, it's not
Yeah.
going to really
Well,
help.
hey, he's Barry Sanders, dude. He was tackled 3 times in the backfield every play.
And then look, the Detroit didn't ever win a Super Bowl, so
Yeah, they were in worse shape than the Cowboys, I think, though.
I don't know. I mean, they had talent.
Yeah, the Cowboys have talent too. And statistically, Dak hasn't been the worst over his career. It's a lot of decisions they've made on putting the right team together as well. They never really gelled well as a team. Even when they had their superstars playing really well, they still never, came together as a good football team.
Well, they need something to take the pressure off of Dak. That's the only reason I'd say maybe. But you really giving up a top 7 pick for a running back. That's a big risk. But right now they're so bad. They need something. They need explosive plays. I don't. CD Lamb is great, but he he's inconsistent, and you need just something to take the pressure off of everything being put on Dak's shoulders. I guess you have to keep him because of the dead cap. But man, what an idiot for signing him. What are you thinking?
Well, it's like the what can they get better?
Right. That's the
Aaron
problem.
Rodgers.
The problem is it's become a quarterback league. Like you just it's on to the next, right? Because you don't like Kirk Cousins is showing it exactly what teams don't want to do anymore. Because they're like, wait, I don't want to bring in a Kirk Cousins for that much money into my and then still have this type of season.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's hoping they can have the next Jaden Daniels now.
Right. That's what they're looking for, that CJ Stroud, Jaden Daniels pick
And
now.
and they look at Shador like that, and they're going to look at Cam Ward, and they'll even get desperate enough they'll look at Milrow. I mean, that could be he. You could do a lot with a rookie quarterback now, and maybe you don't go that far when he's a rookie, but second year. These are all risks. They're calculated risks though for them.
So I was thinking,
They could be bad. They could be just as bad next year if they don't do something.
so I was thinking about this today, and wanted to ask you guys this. For me, I think the Joe Alt pick looks great right now. Like, what do you guys think about that pick? Because it doesn't seem like offensive lineman is glorified as much as it should be anymore these days. But I think was a great pick for them, not only fitting in, but just looking how good he is as a rookie, and he's just going to get better.
He's one of those. He's just almost like a guaranteed 10-year All Pro. I mean, he's gonna be your protector for years. And the Raiders, the way that we rush the passer, and that the Chiefs, the Broncos are gonna have a good defense for a while. It was a really smart pick.
It was a good pick, but remember, the Bengals made it to the Super Bowl by drafting Jamar Chase over Penei Sewell. What would the Chargers look like if they had Malik Neighbors?
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean that's a big question.
you just don't know that. I mean, the way Harbaugh operates is like he's going to build from the inside out, and he's not going to get someone she's not going to trump a home run threat over building a solid football team on both sides of the ball. Just takes more time. Yeah.
Well, he wants to run the ball, so
Right, but they already had Rashawn Slater.
Right.
yeah. I mean, now look what you got though, Slater
Yeah, but
and
well, yeah,
all.
look what you got. If they have to be in a shootout, they're done. Quentin Johnston, right? I mean,
Yeah. They have their skill.
Ladd McConkey.
McCon. Let's think about it. Bengals put a shootout back on them and scored 21 points in the second half, and then they had the big drive and they finished it.
The Bengals defense is atrocious. I mean, they're 30th in the NFL. That's the problem. I mean, Herbert's playing catch. Um, it's just I think he's got a long-term plan, but look, they're 7-3 now. They're a playoff team. They get in the playoffs, the game can change. Conditions can change. You're gonna have to run the football. You're gonna have to play good defense. That could get you to a Super Bowl. I just don't think it wins you a Super Bowl against a team like the Lions. The Lions have both. They have the best of all worlds. And
Right.
the Chargers are not beating teams like that.
Man, the Chargers don't have a particularly tough schedule to
No,
finish.
no, it's not. They should be in the playoffs.
I mean, Chiefs, Ravens, I think they beat the Falcons. I think they beat the Bucks. I mean, that Broncos game could be questionable at that time, but Patriots, Raiders to finish. So at most they have three losses and finish 11-6.
Yeah.
And at best they finish, 12-4 or 12-5.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good looking finish for the Chargers, to be honest. Because what does 12-5 get you? That gets you fifth seed, maybe.
Well, yeah, they're gonna. They'll probably have a home playoff game,
Yeah.
but wait, this is gonna say a lot about how good the Chargers are on Monday. We'll see.
Yeah, this is a big game for them. So we'll see that. The question, the reason it comes up is because you see just so many of these quarterbacks and lately, and it seems like that's the way teams are going. And are these linemen going to continue to drop and drop and drop? Like we used to see lots of linemen get drafted early.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they drafted Herbert, so they already did that once before, where they took the quarterback.
Yeah,
They have the luxury. Other teams don't have the luxury of having a quarterback. And if you could watch the Raiders play, if you don't have a quarterback, you can't do anything in this NFL. And
No.
that's why you have teams like the Bears drafting and drafting and drafting, hoping they can get the right quarterback. Because it doesn't matter. Even if you don't get, you're just, you'll never get any further than maybe an early round playoff exit without a good quarterback. It's not how it used to be. You're not going to see Trent Dilfer making it to the Super Bowl and winning a Super Bowl. You have to have some kind of good quarterback.
yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I agree. Quarterback's super important. And so maybe, Malik Neighbors could have been a better pick. Joel, good pick, because you do have Herbert, who you've already invested in. I like the pick. I like getting a great offensive tackle and especially in putting them opposite Slater. So I think a lot of the reason they're having the success is, Harbaugh's changed the system. He's a lot smarter coach than their last coach, and they're benefiting from being able to run the ball
And they
and
have
kind of
that fourth
control it.
place schedule too. So
Yeah, they don't have the toughest schedule in the world. Here's an interesting looking at the NFC North. Still, every team in the NFC North has a positive point differential. Even the Bears at 4-6.
it's because the Bears lost two games on the last play of the game.
That's true. But that's interesting. The whole division's green there with the biggest differential in the whole league. Of course, the Lions at 159 is just nuts. I mean, 336. That's a lot of points already this season. So let's break down the conferences real quick, and then we'll jump into college football. So AFC right now, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Houston, Kansas City, all winning their division. Anything changed there between those four teams winning their divisions?
Ravens, Steelers, it might, because we talked about how tough the Steelers schedule is to end the season. Other than that, I don't see any. I mean,
Yeah, Steelers could lose. Let's say they lose four games. That puts them at 12-6 or 12 and no, they lose four games. Puts them at 11-6. Ravens, looking at their schedule, they got Chargers, Eagles, Giants, Steelers, Texans, Browns. So let's say, I mean, they obviously could lose the Steelers. They just did. So this is a big game actually for the Ravens. Because you could lose to the Eagles too. You could lose to the Steelers. They could lose four more games. I mean, I might have to stick with the Steelers on winning that division, looking at their schedule. This week obviously tells all, but what do you think on that, Wes? Baltimore or the Steelers to win the North?
I'm just gonna stick with Baltimore. Um, I mean, they both have difficult schedules. They're gonna take some losses. I just think Baltimore will do it.
Yeah, Baltimore's played a lot of their division games. They just have some tough out of division games coming up with the Eagles and the Texans. And then obviously the Chargers this week. So for those, so everybody's confirmed except we don't know the North might go Pittsburgh or the Ravens. So we got Bills, Texans, Chiefs. No questions there.
Uh-uh.
Let's see. NFC right now leading is Philly, Detroit, Atlanta, and Arizona.
Yeah.
Do all
I
four of
think
those
Philly
teams
and
win there?
Detroit are givens.
Philly, Detroit, yeah.
The other two are toss-ups.
Well, schedule, I mean, win-loss record, they definitely are because everybody's still technically in it except maybe Carolina.
Carolina's still only 2 games back.
No, I mean they're not out of it, but they're Carolina still. So yeah, they're really not mathematically eliminated, right?
And they've
Okay,
won
but
straight.
let's say, well, look, we got to choose though. Okay, I think I'm in agreement. Philly and um, Detroit. Wes, are you Philly, Detroit?
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's pick. Who do you got in the South? Wes, who you got?
I got Atlanta.
Atlanta going. Okay, Derek, what do you got?
I got the Saints.
The Saints at 4-7.
Yeah.
I mean, they're on a 2-game win streak. 2-3
Think,
in division is the problem because a tiebreaker might kill them.
yeah.
I mean, it's as good as any pick right now because the Falcons are playing like trash.
They put Penix in.
I know. Let's hopefully he stays, right?
No, because I want them to lose.
I mean, Tampa looked like a good pick, but they're lost 4 in a row now. And then no receivers. So Saints isn't a horrible pick either. But I'm going to go with Atlanta too. I mean, the teams are just so bad. Even though Atlanta's horrible, you're in a horrible division. So,
Other
NFC
than people were
West.
saying
Oh,
Kirk
good.
Cousins is going to lead them to the Super Bowl.
Hey, he wins the division. Eli Manning did it twice. NFC West. Right now, Cards are winning. Derek, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Cards.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like 1 game separating all of them, 3 of them tied at 5-5. Uh, Cards, let's see their schedule here. They got the Vikings, they got Seahawks twice, Panthers, Rams, 49ers. They got a lot of division games. So I guess this is where you find out,
Well, they've already beaten the Rams and the Niners this year, so
right? They go to LA, but they're playing at home versus the Panthers or the 49ers. Seahawks, they got to still have to play both games. So one on the road, one at home, but they have to throw the Vikings in there. But then Patriots, Panthers. So they have a good chance of, say, one. I mean, they could finish with only 3 more losses and go like 7. That's 10-7. Yeah. Looking schedule wise, they definitely look like they could win that division. What do you think, Wes?
I I think I think Arizona's gonna probably take it. I don't think I think the Rams are gonna struggle a little bit more. I think Cardinals got an easier path to do it.
Yeah, they do because Rams like huge game this week against Philly. They got to win that. If they don't win that, I don't think they have a chance. And then they got Buffalo and San Francisco, Arizona, Seattle, New Orleans. So they don't have the toughest schedule, but they got three pretty tough games coming up as well. Plus, easily games they could lose to New Orleans, Arizona as well. So the Rams have a tough way at it, but winning this week would make the difference for them. Seattle, Seattle just has the Cardinals twice, Packers, Bears, Vikings, so they play the whole North. And finish with the Rams. I don't think Seattle can do it. So probably Cardinals, the 49ers, right? But 49ers got Bills and Lions. Packers this week. I think you're right, Derek. I think got to go with the Cardinals here. Looking at their schedule to finish, not that they have the easiest schedule. I think the other teams just have a tough one. All right, so that's our picks for winning their divisions. Talked about the who we thought our Super Bowl winners would be earlier. Let's wrap up some college football here. So this week or this last week in college, as we get into this, what do you guys think about how the playoff is going to shape up as far as rankings of teams that'll get in? Are we going to have like teams ranked 15th, like a Tennessee making the playoff?
Well, it's always hard because you got to let the games play out.
Right, but we're the experts here, so we got to make the
Well, I'm just
predictions.
saying, you can't really tell. So, like right now, Boise State's number is has a bye. We can't tell what the people that are um, picking are going to do. Are they going to put a bunch of SEC teams? Well, because right now they have Miami but SMU technically is the team that is leading the ACC.
But yeah, that game is going to be.
And that's the conference championship game if they both make it there.
Right.
Yeah, I think Clemson has some hope, but the way SMU plays, and a lot of people haven't seen them, man, they're fast. They fly, and I think Miami could be in some trouble. The way Miami's defense just seems to struggle. Um, in Mississippi, Lane Kiffin came out and said, kind of sucks. We beat Georgia, and then we go. I mean, if we go to the SEC championship, anyone that has two losses that's going, you risk missing the playoff with the third loss, which I don't even think that will probably happen. They'll be probably the last team in.
Well,
But
that's the question though, is let's say Ole Miss goes to the SEC championship, loses, and then has three losses. Do you put, a team like, could be an Indiana that maybe then loses the Big Ten championship? Like, who are you taking over an Indiana or a BYU who loses the Big 12, has less losses, but
boy,
you're going to put in a three-loss Ole Miss over them?
Well,
Indiana has to beat Ohio State in that sense. I mean,
if
they got to put
Indiana
on.
beats Ohio State and then loses to Oregon in the conference championship, they're getting in.
They're getting in.
Beat Ohio State.
Yeah, that's a win. That's a big win beating Ohio State. Um, where does that put Ohio State though? They got two losses.
Well, then they'll be like, well, our only two losses are to the two teams that were in the conference championship game.
Well, yeah, that's then, but Ohio State loses again. You drop them down. But the old miss is a good question though, because the real question is once that team gets those three losses, can you put them in over, let's say SMU and Miami play in the ACC championship? Miami loses. They're ranked eighth right now, but they finish with only two losses, and Ole Miss has three in the same situation. Who do you take?
I think they're taking Ole Miss because Miami's doesn't have that great a schedule.
Miami has to win their conference. They're not. If they lose, that will be two games, and they don't win their conference, and it's not the strongest conference in the world. Miami will be out.
So
Yeah,
between
because you're only getting one from the ACC and one from the Big
One. You're not
12.
getting
Yes. So you're saying that no matter the Miami SMU game, whoever wins goes, the loser's out.
Yeah. Oh, it's got it.
And those last, because there's five guaranteed spots, right?
Yeah. Well, or the
Five
four
conference
guys,
winners, yes.
Right.
you got five because you got Boise State at 12. Um,
So you're saying all those other seven spots are going to be filled with like people who just played really hard teams, even if they have more losses.
Well, the way it's going right now, yeah, because right now they're showing like like that the Big 12 is the worst conference because they don't even get a bye, right? Right now, Boise State in the Mountain West jumped
Right.
over the Big 12.
well, yeah, I'm looking at a playoff predictor because what's Boise State ranked? Oh, I got to talk.
They're 12 right now.
So Boise State is 12, and then you got
BYU's 14.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, here's the thing: is this one guy playoff predictor has Colorado winning.
Yeah, well, they will play in the
Then,
Big
then, then they're
Championship.
not catching Boise State, so Boise State's going to have the bye.
Well, it looks like Colorado probably goes to the Big 12 championship.
Oh yeah, it should. It's BYU and them, unless
Well, Arizona State has a outside chance too.
they're at 21.
There's a good chance that if Colorado beats BYU, they jump Boise State. Or the opposite, BYU beats Colorado. Because Boise State doesn't finish with anybody.
Well,
Right,
I think
but
BYU will probably. Colorado they're at 16. Boy, I mean they're four spots back. That can go either way.
what you look at is Boise State lost a close game to number one
Yeah.
Oregon in Oregon,
Yeah.
and BYU lost to Kansas.
Yeah, that's unfortunately, I think as it comes down the end, they start looking at these teams and the rank of team they're playing. Like you saw that with other teams switching spots based on what rank they beat.
Right, but that's what the Boise State's ahead of BYU because they think that they've played tougher teams.
Right.
Yeah, then the adding in another top 15 team just helps their cause of the lower,
Well,
you know.
your prize for a first round bye is probably seeing the best at large team in probably what you probably consider the Fiesta Bowl. In this playoff predictor, they have Ohio State. But the problem, well, I guess Ohio State's ranked here. I mean, Boise State, let's say they got the bye, they're playing. I mean, shoot.
Well, if you don't get the bye, if you're Boise State and you don't get the bye, you play Ohio State in Ohio State in the first week of the playoff. Because that's what BYU's doing.
Yeah.
So here's an interesting question for you guys. Okay, let's say Indiana beats Ohio State, right? Penn State then wins out. Then do you add Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State, and Penn State to that 12-team playoff?
Well, they're all in right now.
Yeah. Yeah, Penn State, Indiana, Georgia. You got, and then here's the one that throws the wrench in everything is Notre Dame. Notre Dame's going to be in it unless something weird happens and they
Well, they
lose.
play Army, and then
Well,
what if Army goes undefeated? You leave an Army out?
well, here's the thing: if they beat Notre Dame, it's kind of hard to leave Army out. But
Yeah, I guess if they beat Notre Dame, that's a big one.
that is, I mean,
Yeah, because right now they're 19th.
Right.
yeah,
So if they beat Notre Dame, is Notre Dame out?
That's the other question.
yeah, yeah. They lost to Northern Illinois and they lose to Army. Yeah, they're out.
Right.
Those two losses, just like you're saying, the same thing with Miami. Miami had two losses; they're out. I still don't see how Ole Miss is going to get screwed here because something's going to happen. Um, Someone's going to lose at some point here. Um, you're going to have years where you're going to have 1-3 loss SEC team because they're the best conference.
Yeah, I mean Tennessee, they're not going to have more than 2 losses. They're ranked 11 right now.
Yeah.
So how do you leave Tennessee out? Like at some point you're going to run out of spots.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like, well, Tennessee, no, they probably won't make the SEC championship.
But that's what Lane Kiffin's saying is like, look, Tennessee's got 2 losses, and they don't go. They're not going to make the SEC. We go play, we lose, we got 3,
Oh
and
wait, Texas and Texas A&M play the final game.
Yeah.
So now you got
Texas A&M
Georgia,
still there.
Tennessee, Alabama, and Ole Miss all with 2 conference losses, and then either Texas or Texas A&M. So that's a nasty tiebreaker for who plays in the championship.
yeah.
Well, do any of them play each other before?
Well, yeah, you got to go back to Alabama lost to
No, I mean
Tennessee.
coming up, because that will knock one of them out.
No, like none of them really play each other.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the only ones that play are Texas and Texas A&M.
Right.
So then you got to go figure out who beat who during the
God, if
season.
Texas A&M wins,
Oh, it's gonna be a nightmare.
could
Yeah.
it be? I wonder if you would then have Texas A&M and Texas again.
Right. You could possibly, depending on how that tie break goes.
Yeah, and this is probably one of the reasons why they didn't do the playoff earlier is you're gonna have some weird scenarios and they're gonna have to make some changes. And I've already heard them talk. We're gonna have 16 teams before too long because it's just gonna cause more problems. When you have all these 2 loss teams that or a third lot 3, an Ole Miss situation. It's like they're gonna go to 6 because they're gonna if Texas A&M beats Texas, that throws a wrench, a massive wrench in the
I
whole.
think it's a mistake to go away from separate divisions within the conference, when you have this many teams, you really need to split it to like an East and West or North and South, right? And then the top one from each side goes. I get it, it was unbalanced for a long time with the Big Ten and it causes those kind of worries. But you're going to have this, like you're saying, every year when you have 20 teams or whatever in a conference all going for those top 2 spots.
Well,
That's
it is weird because what? Penn State didn't like who did Oregon play? But they played Ohio State. Ohio State played everybody, right? They
Yeah.
played Penn State, Oregon,
Penn
and
State played nobody
Indiana.
except Ohio State.
Huh?
Penn State and Oregon played nobody except each other, I mean,
Ohio
Ohio State.
State. Yeah.
Right.
And that's the thing is Indiana hasn't played anyone, and now they're playing Ohio State. So how did
So
Ohio State end up with all these
they
games, right?
played all 3 of them.
well, we figured Indiana was going to be this good. It's just it works out for Ohio State if they win out here, or even if they lose to Oregon. Let's say they lose to Oregon again. Look at the people they played. I mean, they dominated Penn State. They beat up on Indiana. It sucks you lose to Oregon twice.
Right. But Indiana and Penn State still make it when the SEC teams been beating up each other all year, and a few of them probably aren't going to make it.
If Indiana loses to Ohio State, they're probably out.
Yeah.
Even with
With just one loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they haven't played anybody.
Yeah. There's going to be too many SEC teams vying for that spot. You look at their schedule, strength of schedule.
However, if Indiana wins and then loses to Oregon, they're probably still in. And then Ohio State with 2 losses is probably still in.
Yeah, and Penn State. Yeah. So then you get 4 Big Ten teams.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, again, with the SEC, I don't know that you do, looking at the way they finish and how all these play each other. You can't put 5 SEC teams in there. First of all, you just don't have enough spots, right?
Yeah, and a team like Ole Miss kind of falls on the sword here because what's going to happen? They lose to Georgia or whatever, they lose, and the committee's going to say, "Well, you shouldn't have lost to this team. You shouldn't have lost to Kentucky." You know, that's when all that comes back into play. Just goes back to the old system. Well, Notre Dame loses to Boston College. Even though they beat #1 Florida State the week before, they should be a national championship game. Oh, sorry, you lost to Boston College, so you don't get it. This is the same thing that's going to happen.
Yeah,
that's why it's going to go to 16 teams before.
You still see the old system in the new system, right? It's like Common Core math.
Yeah,
you still see old math when these kids are doing Common Core math. So in this new fancy playoff system, it's really just going to come back to the old way of doing things.
Well, it's going to come down, like Wes said, to resumes. Who are the losses? So Alabama lost to Vanderbilt. Well, actually, Vanderbilt's not bad. You know what I mean? It's like, who did they lose to is going to determine if they make it.
So let's get rid of conferences. Let's just make them all play each other, and then they're just going to decide who goes anyway.
No, but what they want to do, and I've seen a format what they want to do, and this is probably what's going to happen. It's going to go back to the old school days where they want to have 10 teams in 8 conferences, right? And that destroys all the division crap, right? Everybody plays their 8 games. You have no more of this East-West stuff, where this happens. It's just 10 teams in each conference. No more 16, 20 teams. That's what they want to do. And that could take a couple years to even figure that out with the mess that they've created with these fucking conferences,
I think they're going the opposite. I think they're going to do even bigger conferences.
Well, that would be the stupider thing to do. Yes.
Yeah, but they care about the money.
It's all about the money and the TV.
Well, because at the end of the day, it's going to be whoever they vote into the playoff, right? It's not going to be based on anything. Like, we may say, oh, it's strength of schedule, it's all this, but it's really whoever they vote for.
Yeah. This is how crazy that this, I mean, actually, what they're talking about they'd actually recreate the Southwest Conference. The Big 12 would basically be the Big 8 again. The SEC, the only difference in all this from like 1974 is Florida State and Miami would be in the SEC. It would be totally regional. You'd have the Pac-10 back. Like, you got the Big 10. Like, it's all back to traditional what they had in the beginning.
The smart thing about that would be is, let's say you did 16 conferences, you could just take one from every conference and just have a 16-team playoff.
Here's the thing. It would be the 8, because you have 8, 10 teams. You have 8 conference winners, and then you have second place playing in the at-large. Right.
But then why even play the conference championship game? I mean, I guess maybe if you're going to do buys or something, but you can't with a 16 team. You'd have to stay at 12. So if you had 8, because you're going to have 8 losers, so you still got to decide.
Mm-hmm. You still have to decide
who
the winners of those losers are. And that's going to be a mess too. But you know what? There's never going to be a perfect system. There's no way there's going to be a 32 team playoff. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, it's too
It's
much
gonna
for
be
football.
16 or bust. That's it.
There'll always be teams left out. And
Yeah.
other
Don't
years you'll have, oh, yeah, we've got 12 teams here with 0 or 1 losses, and then the next teams are 2 or 3 losses, right? Some years are going to have that, and other years are going to have a big time cluster. But then also
Yeah.
it works itself out. We could, like, we looked at the schedule and we're like, oh, well, it doesn't look like anybody's going to lose. It's doesn't happen that way. Someone's going to lose. We didn't think BYU would lose to Kansas.
Yeah.
Oh, that was my parlay. So I decided, you know, I'm done with all this trying to figure out stuff. I'm just gonna pick the favorites. I'm gonna pick the money line, right? So I had 6 of them. All of them would have won. I couldn't make up the casino. I was like, I'm not. It's pouring down rain. Screw it. I would have won. I won every game except the BYU game.
Yeah,
Just
that's a
picking
tough one.
the favorites. You still lose by one.
Well, I guess speaking of wins and losses here, we come up to, college games. I was looking through this earlier. Obviously, we got Ohio State, Indiana, first thing Saturday morning. What do you guys got on that game? Like, does Indiana have a chance? They haven't played anybody yet. We know that. We've mentioned that multiple times, but that doesn't mean that they don't stand a chance against Ohio State because Ohio State hasn't looked great in a lot of games this year.
Yeah. I think they do have a chance. I don't I'm kind of on the fence. Like, of course I want to say because I mean Ohio State has a $20 million budget. They basically have their teams, they got the highest paid NIL team
They
in the
bought a new team.
yeah, they bought their 5-star team. They're playing at home. They should hold serve. They should win, but not by a lot. It just comes down to what Cignetti can actually get. What can he get out of his players against going into an environment like that? They've never been in this situation. If Cignetti pulls this, he's coach of the year. I know Dion. Everyone's going to want to give it to Dion, but to go into Ohio State and win, and what a transformation! I mean, who would have thought Indiana was going to do anything this year?
Well, yeah, you just answered your question. If at the beginning of the year you said Colorado is going to be the number 5 ranked team, you'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. They got Shedeur, they got Travis Hunter. But if I told you Indiana is going to be ranked 5, you'd be like, no, that's
No.
not happening.
Yeah, no way. But it's in Ohio State. They're like a 14-point favorite as well.
Yeah, a little disrespectful,
It
and
is a little disrespectful, I think.
we're going to see how good of a coach Cignetti is.
So what do you get? I mean, what do you got? Like, who do you got, Wes? You got Indiana, you got Ohio State.
And I'm going with Indiana. I don't know what I'm going to go. I think,
Well, you got 14 points to play with.
yeah. I mean, of course, I'm not. I'm definitely not.
Do the money line.
Yeah. Well, you get a good odds on that.
Yeah, I think something about the Nebraska game bothered me about
Yeah,
Ohio State. That
I
that that
agree.
really spoke to you. Have all those players, you have all these expectations. Michigan's not going to be in the hunt from the get-go, right? Like, and you play like that against an inferior opponent, Nebraska, they should have beat them. I think a a really solid football team, a well-coached team goes in there. They're a 14-point favorites. They're like, yeah, they've never been on the stage before. I think they excel and they pull it out. And I'm not crazy.
It's
Again,
tough.
I'm not going to. I don't have faith in Howard. And when the chips are down, I don't.
Yeah, I think he's the weakest part of their team, obviously. They have two great running backs, really good receivers. And, Jeremiah
Always got
Smith
good
is
receivers.
amazing. But
Yeah.
even their other, Tate and what's his name, Ekuba, like they're both really, really good. That's three actually great receivers for college. So they have all the tools outside of the Oregon, Nebraska, Penn State 3 game period. Like they're blowing everybody out, by 30, 40, 50 points,
Yeah.
which also Indiana's doing, but they're just haven't beat anybody, really good yet. And going into Ohio State, I think it overwhelms them. I just there's too much. It's too big of a game for these Indiana kids, and they play well, but ultimately, Ohio State wears them down, wins the game.
Yeah, it's a nice Cinderella story, but yeah, I kind of have Ohio State here. Although, to bring Wes's point up, Indiana did beat Nebraska 56-7.
Yeah,
So,
right. But then they didn't handle, Ellis or Northwestern is good, or I mean, that's just statistically you play different against every team. They're both obviously Indiana hasn't lost a game, so why would they lose now?
right. Yeah, their
But
only
it's a
only
tough
close
one,
game they've had is the game against Michigan.
right?
That's it.
Yeah,
That's the only close game they've had.
they've been beating people handily as well. So we got two Ohio States and a Michigan there. All right.
Indiana.
Um, I was kind of noticing there wasn't a lot. The Arizona State BYU game's interesting, and then
Arizona State wins, they go to the Big 12 championship game.
well, that's what's crazy because now we're talking about again. Then you got Arizona State wins all the way up, gets to the Big 12 championship, loses, and you're like, sorry, season over.
Yeah.
Well, that's just it's some teams are gonna be like that. It's a stepping stone.
Yeah,
Arizona State was atrocious for a couple of years. And that Dillingham, he's of course he's an Oregon guy. He kind of went in there and all just recruiting problems, all sorts of stuff, and he rode the ship. It's there. Nobody's really talked about him, but here those two losses. Here's the thing. This is what the committee's going to say. Well, you shouldn't have had two losses. Now it's three losses. You got to win out. They got to win the conference. And that's why I think the conference in this scenario, in this college football, in this environment this is where the conference championships actually matter.
right.
Arizona State has no business getting the playoff unless you win. You win out. Win out, you're in. You lose, you're out.
Well, problem is though, if BYU would have won out but lost the conference championship game, they'd be out.
Right.
Even with one loss.
That
Yeah,
creates the other problems. And same with Miami. Let's say Miami stayed undefeated and then lost to SMU.
I think they're still in.
But
They
that's
would
the
still
thing,
be in.
right? But now, now that they have a loss and it happens the other way, they're out, right? It's that one loss that changes that mentality.
Yeah, because has Miami even played anyone this year?
Not really.
Like Florida State.
Yeah. The former team that got snubbed. But yeah, I mean that's the point is that one or two losses make that difference in us saying, oh, they're definitely in versus you lose, you're out.
Can we just get back to the fact that Florida State is 1-9?
So bad. It's that's a historically bad change in like record
Like
and
it's like they're the Texas State Armadillos, dude. It's like this
That's
is
it.
their roughness, dude.
everybody got put on suspension.
Yeah.
Even Washington, who lost like everyone, right,
Right. They're still
is
not
six and
terrible.
five.
Right.
Michigan is 5-5. Teams that lost everything.
Yeah.
Everyone. Yeah.
Uh,
One and
so,
nine.
but I guess looking at that game, does BYU or does Arizona State have a good shot at winning that game?
I
Well, I
think
mean, BYU lost to Kansas, so
Yeah.
I
anyone has a shot.
I think they do, just because I think you're gonna see you're just gonna see more athletes on the field for Arizona State versus BYU.
Right.
That gives them a chance, whether they can play within the confines and not turn the ball over. Schematically, can they match BYU the way they play? It's like, I think it's a toss up. I want to take Arizona State here.
I think Arizona State actually wins. It's
Yeah.
at home.
Because
Arizona State comes out and like gets on people early in the games. They've let teams back in, but BYU is not that team that gets punched in the mouth and comes back. And so that's why I think Arizona State probably wins that game.
it's a 12:30 start.
Yeah. What about that Colorado Kansas? That's a big game. Kansas obviously won last week.
Yeah. Um,
They
I think
beat BYU and Iowa State back to back and barely lost to Kansas State three in a row.
yeah, I mean, again, you got an athletic quarterback for Kansas who can create, again, that variable that you can't really, it's hard to prepare for what Jalen brings. I think they got a chance. I think Colorado just finds a way to win. I mean, Travis Hunter, guys are stepping up. Seems like, they got a good supporting cast. They developed a running game, and their defense is playing good. I think they win.
What do you think, Derek? Colorado, Kansas,
Yeah, Colorado.
Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Kansas,
see.
Kansas
I
go 4-6.
I gotta stay with Colorado as well, but I think it'd be a good game. I think Kansas comes to play. The big game of the week we were just talking about Notre Dame. I mean, it's Notre Dame Army. It's at Notre Dame, which is a huge advantage for Notre Dame. Gives them a 14 point, line. Does Army even have a chance?
Yeah, the option, man. You never know with the option game. It's like when you're playing in college basketball and you played Temple or you played Princeton. It's
Right.
just a different offense you're not used to seeing.
A very disciplined team, not going to make a lot of mistakes. Um, although Notre Dame has a big running game with their quarterback as well. Riley Leonard's been killing it.
Yeah.
He's got, I mean, how many rushing yards does he got? He's got to have 1,000 or more, right?
He's got 100. He's got 74 touchdowns. What does that say? Well, that doesn't say rushing yards. I don't know. I think it's like 400. Why isn't it off by?
I guess he's not that many, but yeah, he's got a lot.
Yeah, he's got almost 2,000 yards passing. So
Yeah.
he's probably got, I think it was 400, something like that. But it's just the last couple of games. I mean, he's taking it again. He's running and it's causing problems for defense. It needs to be hard for Army to contend with that. And Notre Dame's defensive line, their defense is solid. I want Army. That's the next hat I'm gonna get. I'm trying to remember where I saw this Army hat. I should have bought it when I saw it. So I really want Army because they run the option. Because they show that, hey, we can still run the traditional option. And then when we throw the ball, we actually throw the ball. We're not the Kansas City Chiefs. We're gonna throw it 50 yards on you. We're gonna torch you deep. I love it when they only throw the ball 7 times, but they're all big plays. Army is one of my favorite teams here. They're so much fun to watch.
It's very old school, which makes it fun to watch too.
But you're asking a lot against Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is really good, and they're kind of under the radar. I think physically, I think they can match up with these teams now.
Well,
Like,
they're
yeah,
beating up on teams pretty
they're beating up
badly
on
too.
teams, and I think physically they can go toe to toe with some of the, some SEC schools. I just don't, I'll never be sold on their skill guys. You still have to have skill guys. It's like Penn State. They just don't have enough skill guys to go all the way. You got to have skill guys in this day and age of college football.
How rough is that Notre Dame loss second week to
That
Northern
was rough.
Illinois? Jeez.
That's just bizarre. I mean, they went out. It's not really going to affect them. It's just the odd. It's like, how did what happened? You only score 14 points against Northern Illinois at home. I mean, that's called being unprepared.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to pick if you're picking Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame wins the game. I like Army. It's fun to watch, but I don't think they can beat Notre Dame.
No, I'm taking Notre Dame too.
Yeah.
All on the same wavelength there. Not. I mean, there's obviously other games, but nothing really else besides that are big games. They'll make a lot of difference in the immediate standings as far as top 25. There's always games that have, conference implications. But I think you're in good shape if you're watching Ohio State in the morning game. Probably afternoon, Arizona State, BYU. Yeah, then you get to finish up with Notre Dame Army, unless you're going for a 7 o'clock game, and then you don't get to watch anything good. All right, well, wrap it up here with the big fantasy week. I know Derek was super happy about that.
Dude,
I
West,
would basically clinch the division.
yeah, you had
that
it.
was bad.
That was it.
I missed the last quarter. I was like, I was like, I'm gonna go to sleep. I was tired. I woke up like, I'm like, what is going on here? Dude, if I get a cat, I'm gonna name it Mixon. I think it's a great name for a cat. Mixon is a great name for a cat.
That is a good cat name. 35 points out of Mixon. That's crazy.
No, you know what it is? I saw it changing. It started changing with Taysom Hill.
Right. He had,
41 points with Taysom
well, he
Hill.
had that big run for like 80 yards.
Yeah.
That really like started it for you. Because Derek was just murdering you.
Yeah, because Daniels didn't give me anything.
Right.
Well,
Like,
don't worry because CJ Stroud gave me even less. And that's all I needed. I had a 24-point lead.
Oh yeah, you had CJ Stroud going too.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I thought West just was down 30, but you had Stroud playing too, and they totally didn't do anything.
Yeah. Because of Kyler Murray that was on a bye.
Yeah, that's rough, but puts West back in it,
Yeah.
or keeps them in it. You guys are now tied 7-4. I mean, my week was just crazy, dude. I go into Sunday night down 70 some points, and with three guys to go, Burrow, Chase, and the Texans defense down 70 plus, and then win by 1 point.
you're down by 70.
Yeah, if you look at Burrow and Chase, dude.
Going into Monday night, Steve had a 1% chance of winning.
Well, you look at Burrow and Chase scored 55 points, just the two of them. And then the Texans gave me 17. So it's 72 points starting from Sunday night football to Monday night football.
That's insane.
Right. So Derek, like that's not so bad. But now it makes so is it divisions or is it just top four records?
Top overall, because I looked and it looks right now it would
Right.
be you, me, Tom, and Mike.
So it might not matter anyway for the divisions, but still we got Tom's up to 7-4 now. Mike Knight's still at 7-4. My sister, Team Awesome, 6-5. So that's really like six teams right there that we're all with similar records.
Yeah.
And we only have
Over.
what, two games left?
No,
Uh, 3 games.
Three games, so 3 weeks. Well, that should be interesting. Let's see any good matchups this week.
You against Tom.
Oh, geez, really? I
Order of the
haven't even looked at it
Courtland
yet.
versus the Bears.
Man.
And your sister against Team Knight.
Well, at least everybody's playing each other. So you guys
Wes
got,
can put the nail in Big Mike.
yep. Wes gonna put Big Mike out, but you got Randy. He's his team can be squirrely. And then Josh has got a bye, so that sucks. But you never know. You can lose those when even when they have a couple players missing. All right, well, we'll keep it updated on there right now. I still have the best record, but man, my schedule's tough.
Yeah, because you got Team Knight next the week after,
Yep.
and then you end with Big Mike.
Yeah.
So that was a big win for you because if you would have lost that,
Oh, I'd
that
have been
could
in
have,
trouble. Yep. Yeah, that would have been rough. All right, well, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and like. New format on Spotify, so got video as well.
oh man.
So video and audio on Spotify. And any comments, don't forget to leave them. We'll see you next time.